I love this quote by Carl Jung too. I've been thinking about it a lot recently, that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will continue to direct your life, and you'll call it fate.
Yeah.
And this is sort of what you're doing for your audience, right? Is that you're making these unconscious patterns, these macro patterns that are just controlling their lives and their minds in many cases. You're making them conscious of it in a way that they can unplug and maybe take control of their own fates. What are things that people can do, like actual tactical activities, actions that they can do to sidestep the influence of these megacorps and conglomerates and such?
I'll put 3 down, and the first 2 are sort of obvious and easy, and the third one is sort of the more interesting. The first, obviously, just being to get educated and to learn. Knowledge is power, right? And that can happen any way you do it. But the second, obviously, is Bitcoin. And if you don't know, then hopefully you're learning today. And if you already know, you already know. Because money is the axis of control, and Bitcoin breaks that centralized axis of control. But the third one is sort of the one that my content has focused the most on, and I think is the most sort of novel and interesting to sort of dissect. And it is, how do we stop giving our value and our money and our time to the system that seems to control everything? Because when you look at my content, it would be easy to think, well, BlackRock is in control of every single company in this aisle. There's no choices. And we inevitably, we have to pay taxes, and we don't have any like sway in politics. And that's true to a certain degree, but you do control where you spend your money, right? And the reason why they fill whole aisles with all of these mega corporation brands, and they give you all the different choices that are actually just one company, then they hide the family-owned brands in these little corners, places that are hard to find, is because actually you do have the power to think about who you're buying from and to be selective in who you buy from. And boycotts work. And we often think of boycotts as like, that one company did something bad, so I'm not going to buy my Starbucks anymore. But if you turn that boycott concept into a more general mega corporate boycott concept, you can pull all of your value out of that system. Because when you buy any products from these mega corporations, your money's going into this giant corporate coffers, and almost all of it is going straight up into the corporate system that pays out the executives, the CEOs, and then back up to the investors like BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, up into the financial institutions like Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, et cetera. And that goes up into these piles of money that don't really exist anymore, that will never come back down into our economies and our world, except for the tiny bits of wages they're getting paid out to all of their essentially slave laborers that are turning around those minimal wages back into supporting their lives off of corporate products because they can't afford any better, right? But if you have the means to do the research, to learn, like your shampoo, easy choice to make, you buy it like every couple months. If you just think for 1 hour today about which company's making your shampoo, and you choose to buy from a family-owned business, and you just switched brands, often it's the exact same price. A lot of people think that family-owned businesses are always more expensive. And sometimes they are. You'll get what you pay for. It'll be way better for you. But often it's actually not more expensive these days because inflation has done crazy things. And if you just switch one brand every month, switch your hair care products, switch your skincare products, switch the things that you buy less frequently and have more chemicals in them. Because those ones, you're going to have the greatest impact on your health, and you'll have the greatest impact on it, or rather it's the easiest habit switch to make. Foods are way harder to switch because it's a lot more recurring buying, way more choice. It's a whole thing. And, get there too if you can. And what I wound up doing is I wound up making spreadsheets of all the different aisles and all the different brands I had looked at. And they're all online for free, just in basic Google Sheet format. So on cancelthisclothingcompany.com, I've got all these spreadsheets. You can there's a tab that's called resources. And I've got a master sheet of like all the different family-owned businesses in each category, but then I've also got sheets that are organized by aisle, so you can see the bad brands, so to speak, too. Because a lot of times people are shocked because they will intentionally buy out brands that you think are family-owned, and they'll keep it looking like it's family-owned. Like Burt's Bees is a great example. Looks great. Actually, it's owned by Clorox, who also owns Hidden Valley Ranch, which is wonderful. Annie's crackers and whatever, that's actually General Mills. Over and over, you'll find that those brands that seem like the staple organic brand or whatever actually was bought out years and years and years ago. Shea Moisture bought out by Unilever years ago. And they intentionally do that in order to give you even more of that illusion of choice, right? And so you can do the research yourself. You can use my content to do the research for you. You can use my spreadsheets, but that is a way to actually stop giving your money to that system, because money is the power that runs the world, right? And so you can slowly take yourself out of that system.
So many things are occurring to me right now. One, absolutely right. We say that all the time, that money is the voting system. It's the highest signal voting system, right? You're actually telling the economy what to produce. And the boycott, one of the most encouraging things I've seen in the wake of this woke mind virus nonsense is the market utterly rejecting some of it, right? You remember the Bud Light tranny episode? More recently, they canceled the Star Wars. There was season 1 of the woke Star
Accolade,
Wars.
right?
And now
Accolade.
it's canceled. Yeah, you've seen all these superhero movies.
Davidson.
I don't recall.
Yeah, Harley Davidson did some woke stuff, and you wound up with all these right-wing influencers. Like one guy in particular, I don't know if he ran a gun channel or not, but he had some guns, and him and all of his buddies got out every gun they owned, and they started testing their guns on his Harley, and it culminated in this like grand finale of all the guns and explosives all at once at the Harley.
Wow.
And then he gave a speech at the end in front of this just wrecked shell of a bike about how that's bullshit. F the woke culture, Harley. I don't care how cool you used to be.
Yeah.
This is what you get.
Yeah. So you can commit brand suicide effectively by doing this stuff. And it's the market just spitting it out. Like that gives me a lot of hope for the immune response to the woke mind virus. That's been very effective. The other thing that dawned on me as you were saying that is, this illusion of choice that we get in the grocery store aisles or whatever shopping aisle. It's the same thing they do with the politicians, right?
Exactly.
They give you the illusion of choice. I'm red, I'm blue, but the reality is they're all bought and paid for by the financial system, right? What I would say is shareholders of central banks is how I put that. That's how I describe that control structure. It goes by many different names. They all are taking handouts from that group of people, right? So you have this illusion of choice. You get people very animated in their ideological disputes about red versus blue, and it just, we're in the year right now, right? It just devolves into nonsense. But the reality is it's just an illusion. It's not, doesn't matter who you vote for, the Fed's not going anywhere, right?
And neither are the corporations and their corporate contracts and such. And there's a slight misconception that's important for us to kind of wake up to, and you see it a lot in people that are questioning the Israel lobby, because they look at how much money is being spent and they talk about like the volume of money being spent as the problem. And like in some cases, the lobbying money is going directly into the pockets of these people. And often there are actually, envelopes of cash that are not being reported that are being given to these people. But it's important to note that actually, in a lot of cases, it's the money is supporting them keeping their seat. The money is buying them their election victory and buying their campaign, because the more money you have for your campaign, the more likely you are to win. And they have whole teams dedicated to calculating how much money do we need to give this politician to ensure that they win so that they can promote our line. Because then they get to inside trade. Then they get to do all these other things, mingle with powerful people and make deals. And that's where their wealth starts to explode, like in a Nancy Pelosi way. And so in a way, the volume of lobbying money, the volume of spend is important, but it's also important to realize that there are other things that we can kind of go after collectively. Like I believe it was Representative Massey that was, it was probably not him. He was just supporting it, talking about banning insider or any political politicians trading, stock trading, obvious ways to sort of cut back on the level of influence that these lobbying groups can have. Theoretically, we should just ban lobbying in general. But baby steps.
And the boycott idea, it goes a step further, I think, too, because it's just a great framing for what Bitcoin is, because when you move your purchasing power into Bitcoin, you're actually boycotting that entire system.
Bingo,
right?
Boycotting the Fed.
It's like, not only are you not buying the whatever Procter and Gamble brand, you're going for the founder. It's like you're going for you're withdrawing your energy from the whole thing. It's like it's like the meta boycott or something.
Exactly. And I just realized too, it's important while we're talking about the politicians, really the boycott on politicians at the most base layer is just not voting in incumbents in general. Because if they have already won once, chances are like 90 to 95% that they're taking PAC money from all of these corporations and other PACs. And it's the people that are new faces that aren't getting all that money. The more we can normalize sort of tipping our personal biases towards the new face that doesn't have the attention, that doesn't have the media. And if you aren't an informed voter, like in general, you're probably better off not even knowing anything and just voting for the one you don't recognize. Because if you recognize them, it's because someone paid for you to recognize them.
Right. That's a great way. That's a great.
That's not my idea. That's Tiffany Cianci's idea. And she's like a superstar political activist. She's been doing a whole bunch of like, she got Bobby Kennedy onto TikTok to do a bunch of live debates.
Yeah.
And it started to change the media landscape this year. It was really cool to see.
That's cool. That's a very great heuristic though, is it just the one that you haven't been programmed to recognize already, which is probably counterintuitive for a lot of people because you're going to want to vote for the guy or girl you recognize.
It's true of products too.
Yeah.
You know, the more money that's being poured into something, into advertising, into putting it in front of you. Same with music.
Yeah.
The more money that's going into that music, like the more power there is behind wanting you to hear it.
Right.
Or see it or whatever it is. So.
Right. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, click here to find more just like it, and here to find our most recent episode. Also, make sure to like this video to help shine light on the corruption of money. And be sure to subscribe to this channel to stay connected.